What's up guys, this is FlamingVictini, and I had a little bit of free time so I felt like recording, and so I'm going to be giving you NJNP versus Tsunami from round 2 of OLT. And looking at team preview, NJNP has brought a Trick Room team, and his camera, if he can remove the Rotom, and then I guess weaken the Latios a bit, and the Lando I guess, camera can definitely become a huge threat, and it's since Metagross normally don't run Earthquake, it's also good switching to Metagross, but NJNP also has Cofagrigus and Cresselia, which are really great just sponge hits, and his biggest offensive threat by far is his Crawdon, because Tsunami basically has like little Crawdon switchings, like pretty much no real switching, honestly. And then on Tsunami's side, he's got kind of like a bulky offense team, and his biggest threat is definitely the Breloom. I can see his Weavile becoming threatening if NJNP lets some of his mons get weakened too much, but Breloom is definitely the scariest one to Tsunami's team, to NJNP's team, especially since his whole team is slower than the Breloom, and it can just Spore and Bullet Seed, and NJNP doesn't really have a lot of answers to it. Also, he's heavily reliant on Cresselia to take some hits, and I guess Diancie a little bit. Both of them give Metagross free hits, so that's, I mean, okay. NJNP also has a Slowbro, but it's offensive, so I could see like NJNP really needs to get momentum. He needs to capitalize on Trick Room turns with his Crawdon while minimizing the amount of damage Breloom can deal to his team. That's the only way NJNP can win. And Tsunami just needs to stall out Trick Room turns to not get completely destroyed by Crawdon and utilize Breloom well to win the game. So let's get right into it. NJNP is going to lead up with his camera as Tsunami leads off with his Lando T. This is not a favorable matchup for NJNP, so he switches into his Slowbro as Tsunami just goes for the rocks. NJNP might have wanted to expect that, and it would have given him somewhat of an early lead, but he has no real, he has nothing really for EQ plus a U-turn. Nothing to really take it well, so it might have helped to get off that hit and predict it, but it probably wasn't worth it so early on in the game. But I mean, since he is kind of down in team matchup because of the Breloom, he might have had to start making some risky plays from the beginning. But Tsunami switches out into his Latios, which is a fine switch for an offensive Slowbro, as NJNP goes for the Trick Room, and he goes into his Diancie, and Tsunami just goes for the safe Draco Meteor. So NJNP is going to be able to get up his rocks right here as Shake brings in his Metagross. NJNP has several options of what to switch in here, so he switches into his camera to try to get off a really powerful Fire Blast, especially since the Trick Room is up. But Tsunami makes a very nice play and he goes into his Rotom. This way he not only beats the camera up, but he also sets himself up to do well against the potential Slowbro switch in, or even the less likely Cresselia switch in. He can just Volt Switch back out, or Cofagrigus even, but definitely it was either Slowbro or Camrep. So Rotom Wash was a great double on Tsunami's part to make sure that NJNP can't capitalize much on this first Trick Room he has set up. So here he switches into his Cofagrigus as Shake goes for the safe Hydro Pump. Does a very solid amount, 44%. So that's going to be a 3 KO, and he goes for another one as NJNP goes for the Trick Room. And right here, NJNP is just going to fire off the Shadow Ball because he needs to get some damage on this Rotom. It'll definitely put him in range of Crawdon's knockoff, so that, well, Rotom isn't a switch-in, but it also can't beat it one-on-one anymore, assuming Trick Room is up. And so Tsunami makes a nice series. He knows the Crawdon is the biggest threat, so he goes into his Latios to kind of make the Crawdon come in and waste some Trick Room turns by switching into his Lando T. And so by doing this, the Crawdon basically only has there's only one more turn of Trick Room left, and he can bring in his Breloom. And so this way, if NJNP switches, then Trick Room will end, and then he can Spore anything freely. So Tsunami can just go for the safe Mach Punch here as NJNP brings in his Cresselia. Now I'm not too sure about sacking this to sleep. I guess what's important is that he didn't... See, the thing is, if NJNP can wake up in 2 turns, then he's set against the Breloom. Then once he can kill the Breloom, then really it's whether or not Tsunami can stop Trick Room enough times, or prevent Trick Room fully, so such that the Crawdon can't just run through his team. If he loses Breloom, it's going to be very tough for Tsunami to win. So by going for the Spore was definitely his best play here. But I'm not sure if NJNP might have wanted to have Sleep Powder, the thing is, and then sack something else to keep his Cresselia awake, since he can not only Trick Room and then Lunar Dance as well. So that Mon that you sack to sleep can also have a second chance later on. But he doesn't really have any Bullet Seed switching, so that would require a sack. And I think he was just going for an early wake, since he doesn't have much else to do against this Breloom. And so Shake risks the 2-turn wake, and he goes for the Bullet Seed, gets 3 hits, and the Cresselia stays asleep. So guess whether or not he can get 3 hits again here, and he does get the 3 hits. So this is looking like it's over for NJNP. Like, he doesn't have much, so he goes into his camera up here, and that's just going to get spored as he Mega Evolves, but that's not too important, because basically he gets spored here. And now Tsunami is very free to just switch out into his Latios, and so this way he doesn't risk the camera waking up as it does. Although then you might wonder, why did he risk it on Cresselia? He didn't have too much for Cresselia anyway, and he might have also, since like NJNP had no Bullet Seed switch-ins, he might have just been trying to like speed up the game. I know Shake is somewhat like that, he'll just like go for the... Well, it definitely made the game a lot simpler for him to just bank on Cresselia not waking up 2 turns, but if he wanted to play it very safely, then he would have switched out on the Cresselia rather than Bullet Seeding. But here he gets a crit Side Shock. It's not going to matter too much in the long run, because at this point Breloom basically wins the game. So although it definitely made basically like NJNP has no chance at coming back, but Breloom was pretty much going to win anyway. I don't think NJNP had a way to stop the Breloom from winning. So here he goes into his Diancie. He has no really option. He's going to go for the Trick Room on the Side Shock, as he actually gets another crit, but it's not going to matter too much. NJNP is going to go for the Trick Room and then go for the Moonblast as Shake switches into his Metagross. He can take it. Oh, my bad. Okay, so NJNP goes for the Explosion here because he needs to try to use as many Trick Room turns as possible. So this way he gives his Crawdon 3 Trick Room turns. The thing is, it's not going to be enough since Tsunami has 5 Mons left, so he has plenty of enough sacks to stop Trick Room. And then because Breloom can Spore, NJNP won't be able to get off a Trick Room with the Slowbro again. Yep, he goes for the knockoff and knocks out the Metagross, as Tsunami is just going to go into his Weavile. And he uses that to just pivot into his... I guess... Oh, he's just wasting... Okay, so that was just wasting a Trick Room turn, I guess. Okay, he might have also been hoping that Cram Hammer misses or something. It's not going to make a big difference in the long run, but that kind of, it doesn't lose him anything, so that's not too bad. And here he just goes into his Breloom and Mach Punches the Crawdon as he goes for the Aqua Jet, and now Trick Room has worn down because Tsunami made that sack earlier, so he can just Spore the Slowbro and then Bullet Seed, and there's pretty much no way NJNP can win this game. So yeah, he goes for the Bullet Seed, and that did a lot, but Slowbro, this is an offensive Slowbro. So yeah, Shake finishes off that first game with the Breloom, and I'll be back with the second game. Alright guys, we're back with the second game, and Tsunami is bringing the very popular, the team ABR and High Impulse Amir popularized, which was the T-Tar, Excadrill, Lopunny, Amoonguss, Rotom-Wash, and then either Togekiss, Skarmory, or Torntees. Torntees the original, I think. This team is pretty good. I think normally the Lopunny is Adamant Quick Attack, but I think this time, I think it's Jolly in this game. But NJNP's got a Nidoking team, and Nidoking is definitely going to be very important for NJNP because it can pretty much break Tsunami's team. Like, he has no good switch-ins because he has Flamethrower for the Skarmory, and I guess the Amoonguss. He can Sludge Wave, does a ton to the Rotom-Wash, so it's not a safe switch-in. And he can Earth Power the Tyranitar. If the Excadrill's balloon is broken, he can Earth Power it, or he can just Flamethrower it. And Lopunny cannot switch into it, though Tsunami can pressure the Nidoking out and attempt to take one hit with his Rotom, basically. And I guess, I don't know how much Spadef that Amoonguss runs, but I don't know if it can live a Flamethrower. But so yeah, Nidoking is definitely the biggest threat on NJNP's team. If the Tornadus is Life Orb and he wears down the Rotomosh, it can become threatening. But Tsunami has that Lopunny, which is a huge problem for NJNP's team. He doesn't really have much that can take it on. And if he lets his Rotomosh get weakened, then Excadrill just runs through his team. He also has no Spore switch-ins. And Skarmory can get up spikes pretty freely on his team, so that's going to be troublesome. So NJNP has to play this really well. So he leads off with his Rotomosh, as Tsunami leads off with his Skarmory, and he just goes for the Volt Switch on the Skarmory, as that does like very little. That's definitely specially defensive. So he goes into his Nidoking, and he predicts the switch to Rotomosh and goes for the Sludge Wave. And here he tries, I'm not sure why you would Flamethrower here. Like, if he goes back into his Skarmory, he's not gonna... Okay, he might have been expecting a switch to Excadrill. That's the only reason why, because it can switch into Sludge Wave and it can switch into Earth Power. Otherwise, he might have been expecting a Rotomosh, in which case he would have gone for the Sludge Wave. But I can see why he would go for the Flamethrower, but I think Tsunami stayed in because he wanted to get up his rocks, since NJNP has no switches and it is a bulky T-Tar, so I'm not actually sure if T-Tar can live the hit. I'm actually going to calc that. Be right back. Alright guys, I'm back, and it turns out the bulky T-Tar can live the Earth Power. So I think NJNP definitely should have gone for the Earth Power on this turn rather than the Flamethrower, and it would have definitely helped him out try to break with his Nidoking. And so here he goes for the Flamethrower again, as Tsunami just switches into his Rotomosh, realizing that he's not going to Sludge Wave. Now NJNP here makes, I guess, a very hyper-aggressive play, or a very impatient play. I think impatient is the better way to say it, because those Stealth Rocks and Spikes are up, it's going to be really annoying for him to switch. And if the Rotomosh Volt switches on the switch especially, then he's just going to be losing so much momentum, and with that Lopunny, there's like no way for him to win. So I think here he kind of banked on Tsunami misplaying and going for the Volt Switch, rather than going for the Hydro Pump, and that definitely would have been really good for NJNP, but Tsunami does make the best play here and goes for the Hydro Pump, and he's able to remove the Nidoking, which is just amazing for him, because that was definitely the biggest threat to his team. So here NJNP goes into his Lopunny and goes for the return, as Tsunami makes a nice play. He goes to his Skarmory, gets off a little bit of Rocky Helmet damage, and then knowing that NJNP is going to go for the high jump kick, he just goes into his Amoonguss. If NJNP went for the return again there, I'm not even sure if that would do a KO, but if it did, he could just switch out, get Regenerator, and get a little extra Rocky Helmet with his Skarm. So yeah, here NJNP sacks his T-Tar to the Spore, and Tsunami makes a very nice play here, and he switches out into his Lopunny, because it would just be very good. It would be very good if NJNP stayed in with his T-Tar, and also if NJNP switched, which is the most likely option, it matches up very well against this team. So this is pretty much a free Mega with the Fake Out, which is exactly what he goes for. But he actually makes an aggressive play and goes for the Frustration on the Volt Switch, which basically the Rotomosh is gone. Like NJNP definitely expected the Amoonguss, and I think he might have been better to go for the Will-O-Wisp. I think Volt Switch was a misplay, because if he could have gotten off the Will-O-Wisp against Lopunny, then at least he still has some chance. He can also Pain Split up, as the Rotom is very important. And Tsunami, realizing how important that Rotom is, he goes for the damage, just hoping that, I guess, the Rotomosh won't go for the Will-O-Wisp, and instead NJNP will try to get some momentum on his Amoonguss switch, which is the most likely option. But NJNP does go for that Volt Switch, so now he's in a really tough spot. And right here, he predicts the Skarmory very nicely and goes for the Fire Punch, but it actually does not kill. And so this allows Shake to go into his T-Tar very easily, and NJNP makes a nice prediction, switching into his Rotomosh. He has to play aggressively in this position to get it back, although still, the chances of him winning are extremely slim in this situation. And so Tsunami can just safely go into his T-Tar knowing that Jirachi was choiced, and here Rotomosh just going to go for the Volt Switch. Tsunami can just sack off his Skarmory to stop any Pain Split shenanigans, and now the Rotomosh is pretty much just completely dead. So yeah, NJNP goes into his Torn, and Tsunami just brings back his Lopunny, goes for the Frustration, and that Torn is gone, and NJNP goes into his low pony here. Tsunami just goes for the quick attack to kind of try to finish this off, and it barely misses out on the KO, but it's not going to matter too much because the Rotom Wash is so down, so low, the Excadrill can just clean the game. So he does go straight into Excadrill as NJNP goes into his Tyranitar, just sacking it. He can't win at this point because Excadrill pretty much just wins. So yep, he goes for the Earthquake on the Cheetar. NJNP brings in his Jirachi, and that's going to go down to the Earthquake. And then the Rotom Wash is going to come in and just die to an Iron Head. So yep, those were the games. Sorry for misremembering like a one turn or two, but that was the game, and I hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys later.